Yeah, I don't know if you guys in the UK understand how sad it is for us in Canada and in the United States to watch what you're doing to yourself.
Anarchy in the UK used to just be a song. Now it would be preferable. Hello there, you awakening wonders. Thank you so much for joining us for this content. If you don't have Rumble Premium yet, get it now. Then you'll get access to all sorts of content, including Break Bread, where I talk to people like Tucker Carlson, Dallas Jenkins, all sorts of folk, and provide a different perspective on global events. My country, the UK, is experiencing some extraordinary shakes and quakes. For a minute, it seemed that Elon Musk's support of Nigel Farage might elevate him suddenly to the forefront of British politics, which is pretty near to where Nigel Farage is anyway, to tell you the truth. But now Farage has withdrawn that support as a result of Farage's comments on the jailed Tommy Robinson. Let's have a look at that story, as well as how the UK is being perceived globally as these new emergent populist powers and forces that appear to be coalescing around the MAGA movement and the X platform of Elon Musk continue to disrupt and reorganize global politics, which was itself, let's face it, an amalgam of bureaucratic interests, commercial interests, state interests that appeared to be centrally controlled in ways that many people were pretty peeved about, to put it lightly. Let me know in the comments and chat what you think about that. Let's have a look at Nigel Farage, first of all, commenting on his recent spat with his temporary patron, Elon Musk.
Many Americans see Tommy Robinson as an absolute hero for free speech. I don't think he's wrong in everything he says, and I do question why he's in prison and being kept in solitary confinement. But I do think that much of what he says is kind of heading towards almost a religious war against the whole of Islam, as opposed to saying there are problems within that religion that we need to deal with. So I wasn't going to budge on that position, and that's why I got the tweet from Musk. But since then, he's retweeted me twice, and who knows, maybe we'll make up.
It's amazing that tweets is now how these alliances are formed. But perhaps once we would have looked wistfully and with bafflement at correspondence being exchanged using them feathery pens. Quills is what they were called. Let's have a look at Jordan Peterson telling Piers Morgan that the UK is pulling itself apart. And I suppose he may feel somewhat emboldened by the recent resignation of Justin Trudeau. Maybe Canada is moving in a better, less lacquered direction. Let's have a look at Jordan on Piers.
Has put Canada in the doldrums that it's in, and is also responsible for the state of your country, which is dreadful. And it's I don't know if you guys in the UK understand how sad it is for us in Canada and in the United States to watch what you're doing to yourself. I mean, the UK is a great country. When I go there, I go to Oxford, I go to Cambridge, to these remarkable places in London, see your unbelievable deep history, understand how much the world owes the UK in terms of, say, the establishment of common law and decent government everywhere, including places like India. We owe the UK such an immense debt. And to watch you guys spiral yourselves into the ground for this idiot, weak political correctness that's gone so far that you can allow your working class women to be raped en masse sadistically and say nothing about it, and gaslight people who are telling the truth. It's so sickening. It's so demoralizing. It's almost unspeakable. We all pray, hope and pray here in Canada and the US that you get your act together and grow some spine again and put your damn country back together and stand up to these bloody psychopathic bullies and the woke green mob, because it would be a dreadful shame to lose you.
Wow, some pretty potent opinions there from Jordan Peterson. I can't imagine that Piers Morgan remained quiet for long after that clip ended. Let's see, though, how the legacy media are handling a scandal that threatens to engulf the entire government, a government that's already lost much of the power granted by its recent electoral victory and presumed mandate. And I suppose this is what happens when you have wan bureaucrats posturing as ideologues, when it seems increasingly that these ideologies are tethered to systems of power that are discernible only to those of us that are willing to look at stuff a little more deeply. The truth is, well, what do you really think Keir Starmer believes in?
In recent years, we've spoken to alleged victims of grooming across the country, In 2020, this woman in Yorkshire told us how her abuse had continued from childhood into adulthood.
They raped me first, and then they said to me, "Stop speaking to the police, don't speak to the police, why are you doing that?"
In Hull, our investigation into several victims of a predominantly Asian grooming gang.
I mean, the very fact that the legacy media are now covering this story is interesting, isn't it? It shows you how these systems respond to an external stimulant. Tommy Robinson, who, as many people will tell you, is divisive and, as Nigel Farage says, has a great deal of popularity in the US, and many people deride, decry and attack him in the UK, has been talking about this for a significant amount of time. As we attempt to assess the impact of this story politically and culturally, I suppose one thing that we can focus on and agree on is this level of exploitation, abuse and rape ought to have been addressed and exposed a lot earlier. What is it that directs the attention and intention of the media? Why weren't they talking about this years ago? Why aren't they investigating these stories? Why aren't they looking to resolve this? What are the connections between these gangs and political power that have led to the stories not being reported on for so long?
Led to Humberside Police reopening the investigation.
That room, that flat, took my childhood from me. I think I was raped by around 150 men over the 3-year period.
In Glasgow, we met victim Tony Louise, who says she was abused from the age of 12.
When I went to the police, one of the police officers turned out to me and went, "You've got a very active imagination for a wee girl, haven't you?"
In more than a dozen regions where we explored the problem, a common theme was inaction and a failure to prosecute. Marlon, who we first interviewed 2 years ago when his daughter Scarlett was still going missing, says he was dissatisfied today with the Prime Minister's response.
I found it as an opportunity for him to have a go at other political parties. I don't care about other political parties. What I care about is children being groomed. Obviously, I've gone through that with my daughter, but this is continuing.
There have been successful prosecutions, such as this gang in Rochdale, and local public inquiries into grooming gangs in Telford, Rotherham and Greater Manchester.
Why are they reporting on it now? Do you not get the sense that many of these centralist, globalist governments despise working people, even when they bring their credentials to the forefront, their heritage, their parents' jobs? Don't you get a sense that the professional class, the media class, the institutions loathe and despise the people that they are charged with governing? It's all too common that we're told these people are racist, they're out of touch, they don't use the right words, they don't use the right language. Whatever you may think of Tommy Robinson, whatever emerges as the absolute truth around these grooming gang scandals, it's pretty clear that these stories haven't been taken seriously, covered properly, handled with due circumspection and diligence judicially for reasons that don't seem clear. How can we trust our media? How can we trust our government? How can we trust our judiciary in anything after this? What we have is a government devoid of moral authority. And the reason it's devoid of moral authority is because they have no faith, belief or integrity in anything permanent or universal. That's why you see them blown by the breezes and trends continually. Now we believe in this ideology. Now we believe that these set of words are okay. Now we believe that it's okay to condemn these people or these individuals. What they mostly believe in is the centralization of power, the ability to control, the ability to jail, the ability to kill, the ability to condemn. And if they can dress that up in anodyne bureaucratic language, they will. But the problem is that a story like this one robs them of that ability. It's so visceral, so revolting, so vivid and real that what it's done is it's brought to the forefront some issue that had been burbling and bubbling for a long time. People in power are disgusted by those they govern. That professional metropolitan classes have taken control of institutions and have cut themselves off from the people that are the foundation and backbone backbone of nations. And it's happening across the world. It's not just in the UK, though, as Jordan Peterson says, it appears to be more pronounced in this country. The French agricultural protests are born of the same thing, a loathing and disdain for the people that build and hold together nations. The rise of nationalism is an obvious response to globalism, which was an attempt to centralize all power, desiccate national pride, deracinate individual freedoms, and now it appears to be over. We don't know where this is heading, but we do know that the old order is in serious trouble. The war against free speech is in full swing. We are the vanguard, bravely fighting back. Rumble's the home of this channel, Stay Free, and a leader in defending the fundamental human right of free speech. They've joined X to sue a cartel of advertisers and ad agencies who conspired to block ad revenue from going to the platforms. Recently, they've launched Rumble Premium. This, I think, is going to be a game changer for all of us. It's an ad-free viewing experience with great perks for viewers and creators. Rumble Premium will give you the ability to dive into your favorite content on your mobile or desktop or smart TV and savor every uninterrupted second of my content. Why don't you upgrade to Rumble Premium today? Support my free speech and the free speech of other content creators on this platform. Please go to Rumble now, rumble.com/premium. And if you use the code BRAND, you'll save $10 and Rumble will be aware that our stream is creating great converts. So that's rumble.com/premium and do use the code BRAND to save $10. Anyway, there's a link there at the bottom of the screen now. We're posting it in the chat. Join us.
The lessons from our past have been well and truly learned.
There was a national review into child abuse under Alexis J, but its section on grooming gangs was limited to 6 locations, mostly not known for having a problem. And J expressed frustration her recommendations hadn't been implemented. Today, the Home Secretary said that would change.
First, I can confirm we will make it mandatory to report abuse. Second, we'll also legislate to make grooming an aggravating factor in the sentencing of child sexual offences, because the punishment must fit the terrible crime.
The opposition echoed Elon Musk's call for a national inquiry.
Will the Home Secretary commission that national statutory public inquiry which can compel witnesses to attend, that can requisition evidence, and where it can take evidence under oath?
The government says it's focused on improving police inquiries, and lawyer David Greenwood says they still aren't properly recording information about offenders.
I'm not convinced that the police forces and local authorities have gathered the necessary data. So I just don't think the data is there. Police should be working out who these groups are more actively and identifying them and using their powers to disrupt them.
Marlon, here with daughter Scarlett, is also calling for a national public inquiry. Arguably, there is more to learn, but it's also the case that there's plenty still to action.
I pray that there is a national public inquiry and a massive radical review about the way that the judiciary and police services have been run and the way that the media appear to be willing to concoct stories when appropriate, when convenient, when in the support of particular institutions and when beneficial to structures of power, and equally happy to oppress, control and ignore stories that appear to affect thousands and thousands of people. What are the forces that are at work here? Is there some nefarious intent behind all of this, or is it just some inert ineptitude that drives all this? What on earth is going on in the UK? What are the priorities that govern that country? And will it be able to sustain itself when new external powers, even if it's just in the form of opinion through social media platforms that don't censor, how will these old, breaking and broken institutions react to new emergent powers, new populism, and an unwillingness to continue to tolerate these kind of repulsive stories? It seems to me pretty clear that something new is being born. Whilst it's not clear where this story will lead to, surely at bare minimum it will be an inquiry and possibly the toppling of systems of corruption that themselves seem in need of radical review. But that's just what I think. Why don't you let me know what you think in the comments and chat. Remember, we stream 4 days a week on Rumble. Join us there. Get Rumble Premium if it's within your resources, and join us too for Break Bread, where we have fantastic conversations with brilliant guests. In the meantime, if you can, please stay free. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.